Hey everybody, it's Shannon, the Recyclista, and I'm back here again with another resellers report like I promised last week. I have a few things that I just wanted to share with you this evening as part of the report. First of all, I wanted to do an update of the things that we talked about last week, some of the things that I had that I wanted to get listed, and I actually did get listed, and some of those did sell, so I'll share that with you. And then also I have just a real quick mini little thrift haul, if you want to call it that. I just found a few things. I went into a thrift store. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. And I managed to pick up just a couple things that I'll share with you. The next thing also, because it worked so great last week, when I told you about the things that I wanted to get listed, I actually listed them. So telling everyone about it kind of gives me some accountability. And so it actually works really good because it helped. And so some of these things are things that I've been holding on to for too long, and it's forced me to do the research and do what I need to do in order to get it listed. So that works. So I want to do that again with just a couple little things. And then I was just going to finish up with just a little flatware lesson. So I sell a lot of stainless flatware. And so I can share with you just a little tip this time. Just if you're interested in selling flatware, if you do, just something to kind of keep an eye out for. Okay, so let's just start off with the update I was talking about last time. So last time I said there was like maybe 5 items or so that I wanted to get listed. And I did. I got them all listed, including my typewriter. 5 years, baby. Finally got it. It's in my Etsy shop now. So of those 5 things that I listed last week, 2 of them sold already. The first one was the needlework kit, the cross stitch kit. That was Frank Lloyd Wright. And, you know, it sold for a pretty good price. I feel pretty good about it. You know, sometimes like I listed it and it sold within a couple hours. So a lot of it does have to do with people staying at home and looking for those crafting things to do. But I also found the kit. It does sell online in a really small website, and I priced mine at more than them on eBay, and it sold. So I do feel pretty good about the price that I got. And it has been sitting around here for a while, so now it's gone. The other thing that sold was my little dish. So my little antique dish, and I put a really low price on it because of its condition and such. And I got really good. I got a nice feedback comment from the buyer, and she said it had helped her figure out some information about some other dishes she had or something like that. And so she was really appreciative about that. So those 2 things sold. So, like not huge money. My typewriter is my bigger ticket item, and I don't expect that to sell very quickly. I sold it, I listed it kind of medium high. It's not like pristine condition, and sometimes I think the people who sell them actually refurbish them and everything like that. So I'm selling mine as is, but it is not something you come across every day. So I figured out shipping. My husband does the shipping here, so he found a box and he told me, you know, the size, and so we just kind of figured out some options if it went parcel, select, or if it went priority, you know, the most it would be. And I got it listed, so that was really cool. So that's great. So the next thing is that, like I said, I did go to a thrift store. I will explain, we live in an area that's pretty small. It's not too crowded. There fortunately have not been a lot, compared to other areas of the country, there have not been a lot of cases of the COVID, the pandemic. So, you know, for the most part, we're staying home. We're still not taking this lightly or anything. But I needed some things for the apartment, and I thought I would try. The thrift stores here opened up last week, I think. And one of the ones I went to, I didn't get anything there, but it's a little bit smaller and they were limiting the number of people. And the other thrift store I went to it's not a chain, it's kind of just a local fundraising type thrift store. And it's a very big building. And I wore my mask and I had my hand sanitizer and stuff like that. And so I looked for the things I was looking for, but of course I was looking for other things as well. And let me just show you a couple of the things that I found. So last time I was at that thrift store was when we were here at the end of February, beginning of March, when we were visiting, and then we found a place to live and decided to move and everything like that. So I was at that thrift store and I saw this. Okay, so it's a string art kit. And I thought it was just the kit at first. I was kind of excited because I know these are popular. And it would sell as a kit. But then I opened it up and I took it out and someone had already done it, which is almost actually better, right? So this I think I'm keeping. So I saw this at the last time I was there, and I don't know, the price was kind of not great for like a thrift store. So I passed on it the first time. I was trying to be really selective about moving things and all that kind of stuff. But I had a feeling it would still be there, and it was. And so I bought it this time for me. So I think this is gonna go in my office or something like that. But somebody, thank you, whoever did this kit years and years ago. Thank you very much. It's going to be, look at that work, isn't it cute? Anyway, so I would still be on the lookout for kits because actually that might be kind of fun to do. Although I'd make my husband do it because I don't have the patience. Okay, so the other thing I found was, and it has the original box, which is kind of cool. Anyway, the other things I found were just some jewelry pieces. I'll tell you the story of this one real quick. So it was in the little showcase thing as I was checking out. And I'm at an age where I do need reading glasses, and I have a pair and I don't wear them in public. They're next to my nightstand and I barely wear them then either. I just make my phone bigger or my iPad bigger. But anyway, so I'm at the thrift store, and yeah, I know my phone is a magnifier as well. But I was in a hurry. She was waiting for me and everything, the lady who was showing me the stuff in the case. So I saw this and I knew right away it's interchangeable, so that you can change the pendant and then the centers all change out and everything like that. And so I could see the name up here, and I just total had a brain fart. And I saw the name Miller, and then I saw the letter N. And so my brain went to Nicole Miller. And I was like, well, I didn't know Nicole Miller did interchangeable jewelry, but I guess I'll take it, right? And so I just really fast. So then I'm researching it at home. And I was like, no, Nicole Miller doesn't do any interchangeable jewelry. And then at some point, the penny dropped, or I saw something online. And I was like, oh, Nolan Miller, who I know very well, does interchangeable jewelry. So I don't know why that didn't pop into my head while I was there. But in any case, I brought it home. I'm glad I did. I'll put it on eBay and it should sell pretty well. So I'm just these things that I found at the thrift store, besides the hummingbird, which I'm keeping, these are kind of on I need to get these listed this week. So we'll add that to the list of things that I need to list. Then I also found this was also in the case, and it's got earrings and a necklace. I'll show you the earrings first. Now the earrings are screwback earrings, generally like a 1940s, 1950s kind of thing. The whole thing's kind of got like a 50s, 60s vibe to it. So, you know, they can use screwbacks as long as they want to. It doesn't mean necessarily that it's super old. But anyway, I just saw this pendant. It just kind of had a cool little vibe going. And so when I got home, I thought, well, let me see if I can research. I didn't look at this part very closely. In the store, I just thought it was some kind of stone or something like that, but it's actually art glass. And I don't even know if you'd be able to see it. But inside the art glass is, it's like a copper dust. And so I found other pendants, very similar. Some were actually, the pendants had more of this chevron shape in the design. So these probably originally, however they were sold, whether it was kits or things like that, you know, you could mix and match or whatever, get the different kinds. And so this one, as I'm researching it, I'm finding others that are very similar, and they're all using the word copper fluss for the beads, for the glass cabochons and everything. And so I'm like, oh, copper fluss. Okay, so that's a new word for me. I'm gonna write it down, and I'm gonna research what kind of art glass term that is. So I start to research, and it's nowhere. It, like, the word doesn't exist. Like, the word fluss like means river, or, you know, like, it's not matching up with any kind of art glass terms. I'm looking for a definition, nothing. So then I finally come across a listing for a Juliana piece, which Juliana jewelry, everybody wants their jewelry to be Juliana, all right? So that's probably one of the most overused keywords in jewelry selling is, you know, people just throw the word Juliana on there. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But I found some copper pieces that were confirmed Juliana pieces, and they had this type of art glass in it. So I looked at it and I thought, okay. Then I read through the thing, and it said that Juliana or the maker, Deliza and Elster, sorry, I'm butchering that too. They, D&E, you'll see that on a lot of listings. They were the ones who named their findings or their bead copper fluss. And it was this art glass that had these copper shavings or these copper sparkles in it. And they also had some other beads that they called gold fluss. So I think just totally proprietary. Like they made up that name for their own pieces of jewelry. So I, you know, and so that's what happens over time. Then, you know, it gets described that way for the real Juliana pieces. So then once those findings or components are used in other jewelry makers, so either people trying to sell it or whatever, they use that same terminology, copper fluss, right? So all these other jewelry pieces that just happen to have that type of art glass in them have that in their title. So I was glad to clear that up. So it's not an art glass term per se. It's something that Juliana named themselves, or D&E did themselves. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, then the last piece of jewelry I found at the thrift store was also in the case, and I'm kind of excited about this one because it was laying there, and it's a necklace, and it's very Art Deco looking, right? It's got the little tassel, and this is all glass. So all these beads are glass, and when I first looked at the hinge or at the little closure, I was like, oh, that looks old. But then I thought it was just a spring ring, like a regular normal spring ring type thing, but it is slightly different. Kind of like a precursor to the kind of jump ring, or not jump ring, spring ring thing that we use today that you do back, you know. So, yeah, I was looking at it closer. And I did ask in one of my jewelry groups on Facebook, and they confirmed it is 1920s. So we tend to think of 1920s Art Deco, the flapper length and everything, but the shorter ones were a thing also as well. And nice to get that confirmation. And then someone also suggested to use that term jadeite glass for the color of the glass. So I just think that was pretty. Anyway, and also nice just to find something that is older, a little bit older than mid-century type stuff that I usually find. So 1920s on that one. So that was cool. Okay, so that's what I found at the thrift store, and I will be getting those listed this week, and I will let you know how that goes. So the other things, now I've also pulled a few things out of storage, just a couple. This isn't gonna take forever. And you probably see these behind me anyway. So I was thinking about it, and so the typewriter, it took me a while. I had that for 5 years, and then I listed it, and you know, I haven't had these quite as long. And I said last week that when I procrastinate on listing something, sometimes it's because it's such a bucket list item. It's, you know, I'm never going to find another one, and I hoard it and everything like that. Now these also are very cool. And I will admit, you can see how big they are. I will admit, because I'm a pattern seller, I had thought about keeping these, decorating my office or something like that. But that's not really why I kept them. You know, they're just sometimes when things are just a little bit tricky to list, it kind of gets pushed to the side. And so then I list all the stuff that I can list really easily. So what these are, and the other thing is I was researching them, and it was really hard to find comps for them because they're such a unique item. So they, as you can see, they are pretty big, and they're the covers of sewing patterns. Okay, so they're advertising, obviously. Now, and then if you look at them, I would say they're probably what, the 30s? 30s or the 40s. I would have said 40s at first, but then the 15 cents, I have to look that up. I think, you know, you can kind of tell the age of a sewing pattern by how much it cost. Originally when it came out, I really like that one. I think that's my favorite. But anyway, so I'm gonna say 30s, 40s. You know, all you vintage fashion people would probably be able to tell me right away how much. Oh, but what I wanted to show you is they're advertising, but they're also, so if you see on the back what they were probably used for, they're not popped out, but they would be easels, right? So countertop, at a place that they sell sewing patterns would be a, I don't know, what would you call it? Countertop, display, easel, cardboard, something. So I did all that research, and I found some Butterick ones, the sewing pattern company Butterick. I found a couple of those from the 1920s, but not tabletop, countertop, I don't think. I think those were just to hang on the wall. I looked up like advertising and store and countertop, so I didn't really find much similar. So I'm trying to figuring out pricing is kind of tricky. It's another reason why it ends up getting pushed off to the side. Also, this is minor because these would actually be fairly easy to ship. It's just that we used to have stay flat envelopes that were fairly big, and it would be a no-brainer like how we were going to ship them. So I just have to check with my husband, like, is he going to make cardboard sleeves for them, or like what is he going to do now, or do we need to order anything? So I'm hoping to get these listed this week, but that might trip me up a little bit. So we'll see. So, I mean, I think somebody did have these hanging on the wall. I don't think they ever popped out the easel part of them. And they would be great, you know. Like I said, I thought about keeping them because I sell patterns, but then I thought, you know what, the people who sew, which I don't, I think it would just be nicer if someone who sews or who's really into those vintage fashions and collecting vintage sewing patterns, like it would look really good on in their sewing room or something like that. So I think that's how I would market it. And so what I was thinking, because I can't figure out a price, is, you know, I could put them on Etsy, I could put them on eBay, and they would get found. But I think what I might try is there are some Facebook groups that are buy-sell groups, and that they you know, they have some serious collectors in those groups, and I think they would really, really like these. So instead of me trying to go on eBay and trying to find, use the right keywords and get the right eyes on my auction or listing, you know, I thought maybe if I should just went into those Facebook groups, and I know of one that's pretty popular, that's an auction. And so I might reach out to the group administrator and see if that's something that would be eligible to be auctioned off in that group. And I just think you'd get the eyes, you'd get the collectors right away. So I still have to think about that. I have to decide if that's what I want to do. But anyway, I think they're really cool, and it's time to let them go. And I also do want them to get the value. You know, it's not just about making money, but I do, you know, I don't want to let them go for nothing, because I do think they're valuable and they're unique, and the price should reflect that as well, right? Okay, so I'm going to work on that this week. Then I am going to, the next thing is also another jewelry piece. So this is something that I have on consignment. A friend of mine, I don't sell a lot on consignment, but a friend of mine had a bunch of vintage jewelry, and I agreed to sell it for her. And so this is one of her pieces, and it's really cool. And I've I need to get it listed for her. But when she first showed it to me, she was a little bit hesitant at first because she loves it. And when you see it, you'll understand. It's a bracelet, and she's worn it, but she just felt it was kind of clunky, and then she never wore it again. But it's just really cool looking. So if you look at it, this is a panel bracelet. And if you go looking really close in there, it's called Confetti Lucite, right? So embedded in that lucite, or the resin, the clear plastic, is all those sparkly foil bits, right? So pieces of confetti lucite. So now I've had confetti lucite pieces before, and they're usually, you know, they're just fun jewelry, and they're not like super substantial. But this is a really well-made piece, and it's pretty, like if you look at the back, it's pretty serious. It also has some rhinestones in there, which is kind of unusual from the other pieces I've had. And then it also has, once you clasp it up, it has a safety chain, okay, which is a sign usually of a better piece of jewelry, right? So the safety chain is on there, so if your bracelet comes unclasped while you're wearing it, the bracelet won't fall completely onto the ground. So I think it was either in doing my research or just being around vintage jewelry, but the name Selro had popped up. So Selro jewelry is very collectible, and it's probably more often you've seen it, if you've looked at vintage jewelry, you've seen it as it's known for a lot of it has like figural faces on it, like Asian and African masks or faces. That is very common in that jewelry. So Selro is one name, Cellini is another. They were both founded by the same man and run by the same man. His name was Paul Sellinger. And Selro, I guess his mother's name was Rose, so she was Rose Sellinger, so he named it Selro. And he started his business in the 40s, the late 40s, and it continued all the way up until mid 70s. And it was based out of New York City, and it was, you know, like I said, it's very collectible, it's very well made. A lot of pieces are signed, but then a lot of pieces also, like this one apparently, are not marked and they're not signed. And so they would have originally came with a paper hang tag, which would have gotten taken off. So how we know it's Selro for sure, I asked in a Facebook group, and I looked at, and almost right away, someone answered me, and they had a resource to a website, and it's called The Many Faces of Sellrow. Is an article on this website, and it's the website, I can't quite figure out if it's like a hosting company or something like that. It's just called Image Event. And so the article was called, like I said, The Many Faces of Sellrow. And I'll put the link down below in my description if you're interested in looking at some of the other information or other listings about Sellrow. And in one of those articles, there's a section on bracelets, and they're ones that are confirmed to be by Sellrow, even though they're not marked. And this is by experts and collectors and people who've studied this forever. And so the woman who answered me on Facebook, she gave me a link to this bracelet, which is in those pages. So it's confirmed as Sellrow, but not, you know, it's not marked, but they still said it is for sure. So that's exciting for my friend because it, you know, it can sell for a fairly good price. And the other thing that I want to say is that there are a lot of, you know, there's other Confetti Lucite pieces where people will say Sellrow and stuff like that, and they're not. So it was nice in that article or in that website is that there's some other articles that talk about how you can tell what is Sellrow for sure, or Cellini. Sometimes you see both names on there because, you know, we're not sure exactly, without the marking, we don't know exactly which company produced which one. So yeah, I'll put the link to that below, and it's really neat. You know, for me, that's an interesting part of the research, is also figuring out why certain pieces cannot be by that person, or if, you know, you find a bunch of pieces that are attributed to Sellrow online, are they just going based on other listings that they've seen, or have they done the research, or do they know for sure? So it's just kind of fun to kind of poke around. And when you're looking at authentic pieces, that helps you hone your eye so that when you're shopping, you could spot those pieces a lot quicker, right? Okay, so I'm going to get that listed. I'm going to get those listed and figured out for sure. The other jewelry that I found the other day, we'll get those listed. I've been listing things this week: patterns, flatware, jewelry, my main things. And so all those types of things have been selling as well. So it's good. I just got to keep going. So speaking of flatware, flatware is also one of my bigger niches. And I pulled out, so when we were moving, let me back this up. I'll keep it short. When we were moving, no, actually this was longer ago than this. One time I decided that all my unlisted jewelry, I needed to get it organized. I had big bins of it in different places, and so I decided to start with Oneida, because Oneida is one of my most consistent best-selling brands, right? And so I enlisted the help of my kids, and I set them up with bins and boxes, and we pulled all the Oneida we could find, and they helped me sort it into, you know, by different patterns. And so the idea was I could just grab a bag and go and list and research that pattern and figure it out. But also it put everything together. So if I had pieces of Maestro or Aberdeen or something over here and some over here, they ended up all together. And so I knew how to list them. Anyway, so I still had some of those bags of sorted flatware, and as we were moving, I downsized quite a bit more, and I have a couple bins where it's like, oh, this stuff is ready to go, it's ready to list. So I threw a bunch of that kind of stuff in there. And so this week I said, okay, my flatware on eBay is getting so depleted. It's been selling again, but I need to keep listing some more because I'm running out of it. And so I thought, oh, that bin, I'll find that bin and I'll just grab a couple bags and just kind of get started on listing some of that. So let me show you what happened. I had this bag, and this is a bag that my kids had helped me sort. And it just kind of, as I pulled all the pieces out of the bag, I was like, oh, okay. And I thought this is a good lesson because there's a lot of these pieces of flatware by Oneida, and these actually sell, like this style will sell well. So you do want to be on the lookout for it. Okay, but if you can see, they're all very similar. Okay, they're pierced handles, they're very ornate, they're very flowery. And so my kids, like a lot of people, just mistakenly thought they were all the same pattern. So this is something that you can easily make a mistake on. If you're new to buying flatware or selling flatware, and even if you're at the thrift store, you might see a bunch of this style and just grab it thinking it's all the same thing. But here's where it gets kind of tricky. You have to look very closely, and you can see it if you really look at them. They're not all the same, right? So this one has like roses all the way down here, and this one doesn't come down as far, and the swirls are different, and the number of flowers along this edge. So it's all very kind of picky. Now, I was going to show you my flatware book. I have my stainless flatware book that helps me identify some things. I'll put the link to that below so you can see one online, because I totally meant to have it next to me, but I don't. So anyway, so I dug into this little bag of all this different flatware, and I separated it out. And I had to really look at the pattern, pictures, and the flowers and such. Now, what helps too is reading the back stamp. Okay, so some pieces of the same pattern will have different back stamps, but like for example, this one was Distinction Deluxe, and all the pieces I had said Distinction Deluxe by Oneida, you know, HH, stainless, whatever. And so I was able to look in my book and find it, and it's Raphael. I've sold it a bunch of times before, but when you have it all mixed together with ones that look very similar, you have to double check, okay? So I had a bunch of pieces of that, and it's called Raphael. Like I said, it's a fairly good, solid seller. Not huge money, but just bread and butter. And I had just like a mixed lot of things, right? So I thought, oh, maybe I'll just put 20 pieces mixed, you know, and I'll just get rid of them. Well, then as I was researching them, I had 2 dinner forks. And so I thought, you know what? I said 2 dinner forks will sell for about $20 to $25 with free shipping around by themselves. So I was like, all right, forget that mixed lot idea. So I pulled out the 2 dinner forks. The other things that were, these were pieces that I wasn't planning on putting in the mixed lot. I'm talking about, you know, like soup spoons and knives and salad forks and stuff like that. But besides that, there were some iced tea spoons. And then these are the really long spoons. They're called iced tea spoons. And those would be about, what did I see? Like $17 free shipping I could do on those. And then there were some cocktail forks as well. So just those little like seafood, pickle, cocktail forks. And I only have 4 of them. And these always sell better the more you have of them. But I can probably throw them on there for $12 free shipping if I want to, or I can wait until I get more. So I have those, and then I have the 2 dinner forks that I'll list separately. I don't think I got to these yet. I've listed some of the other patterns that were in that big bag, and actually have sold some of that already. But I just thought that was something to keep in mind. Like I said, it's just a very brief flatware lesson to double check, and it's worth it because this big old serving spoon, it has Oneida stainless on the back, but it has, I don't know if you can see it, it has that cube mark that I've talked about in my blog before. And that cube represents heirloom. stainless, which is one of their better lines. And this pattern is called Michelangelo. And I'm gonna go ahead, I listed this one already. Again, not huge money, $16 for shipping, but for one spoon, I think that's pretty good. And then the last one, this was also in there, and that pattern is called Pembroke, or Renoir. Okay, sometimes patterns have more than one name, and I put both in my listing. And that's just marked Oneida, USA, a good sign of a vintage fork. And I listed that one by itself for $14 free shipping. So dinner forks can be good. So yes, in that big lot of things, like I cherry picked, and I picked out ones that were kind of worth either listing by themselves or listing in a little group. And I do have some left over. And I think what I'm gonna do is just, I put those to the side, and instead of doing a lot of just like the non-desirable pieces, I will just hang on to it. And then as I'm thrifting, and if I find more pieces, then I can either make up a bigger lot, or, you know, I have one salad fork, I'll wait till I get 3 more and put the 4 salad forks together, and that would be worth doing. Okay, so anyway, that's my little flatware lesson. Let me know if you want to know anything more about flatware or jewelry or anything like that. I plan on doing this again, the resellers report, going through some research that I've done, and just, again, I like the accountability, because once I tell you this is what I've got and this is what I'm going to list, then I'd like to be able to come back next week and tell you, yay, I listed it, yay, it's sold, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, thanks for joining me, and happy selling. See you around.